Hello and welcome to the Open Mind Center's YouTube channel. My name is Jess and I am the social media manager for the center. So I will be pretty much narrating a lot of the videos. You'll see me in a lot of the videos. If you don't know, the Open Mind Center is a place that offers products, services, and classes to help anyone on their spiritual healing growth journey, any journey that you're on. We are here to help you with that. So in the last video, I told you guys that I'm new to spirituality. I actually am currently on my spiritual path. I'm just learning more about spirituality myself. So I decided to sit down with one of the practitioners that we offer at the center. Her name is Kathy. She does reading, she does Reiki, she does a lot of energy healing. And I decided to sit down with her and ask her some questions that I think will be very valuable for any beginners to spirituality. So it's a long video, so I would say this is a great video if you are driving, you need to listen to something. It's just like a podcast, you'll just be listening. So just sit back, relax, do your laundry, cook, and just listen. Because this is such a great conversation, and I know it'll be helpful to a lot of people who are on their spiritual journey or in whatever journey that you're on. Okay, let's go. If you could give any advice to someone who wants to start their spiritual journey or their path, what should they do? Because I don't know, they say trust your intuition, but I'm like, I'm still learning, so how do I mean,
that's an entire process in and of itself, right? So, the first thing I think is important for people to try to practice is self-compassion. Understanding that what path they're on isn't going to look like everyone else's, because everyone else is on their own journey. Everyone's an individual. And having some respect for that and self-compassion for their own journey. Also, no two journeys are going to look exactly alike. It's important for us to recognize that we're having a human experience, and if you want to start this and that's cognizant for yourself and that's how you start, then awesome. There's things you can do, and there are different things you can look at and try to get information and start with. Generally, people have different ways of having a spiritual awakening kind of start for themselves. It can be, like you said, someone who decides they're interested in something. They stumble upon something, they're interested, they want to learn more, and they want to learn how that can benefit themselves. For a lot of people, they end up, though, I think the majority, there's some sort of hardship, whether it is an external situation, like a big breakup, death of a loved one, something that is kind of like a catalyst. Then there are people that have like physical catalysts, like ailments, people who are looking to try to heal themselves or find healing, and they find the path through that. And then you have people who have always kind of had stuff, but maybe weren't always aware of what they were experiencing. There's all sorts of ways, like backgrounds people have come from, and it happens at all different kinds of ages. So part of that self-compassion is, no matter where you are in life and how you feel about where you are in life, there's no right or wrong. And I think that's also one of the most important messages from Spirit is, on your path, there are no wrong decisions. That is a huge thing to kind of wrap your head around. It really takes some digesting to do, because you do have to consider that means there are no wrong decisions no matter what the choice is and no matter who the person is. So it gets kind of esoteric and a bit convoluted. But if you just think about, for you, even as simple as, well, should I have more coffee or should I have more water? You could keep shoulding yourself, right? But really, it doesn't matter in some ways, because it's either way, it's a decision. You made a decision, you'll go down a path, And if you need a course correct, you have opportunities that Spirit puts in your way and have course corrections. That's why some people kind of have this like tower moment in tarot where like everything kind of just kind of falls and shakes and you're left with just this foundation, and sometimes you don't even have much of a foundation left. That's kind of when it feels like everything's falling apart, because you're getting kind of a course correction because you're open to the course correction. Okay. Not everyone's open to being on a path for their higher self, right? So there's all sorts of ways, and I've had different people over time when I was asking those questions myself give different pieces of advice. So it's something that I do think, and had someone tell me that it resonated with me and I've seen resonate with a lot of people. It's for a lot of people just meditation. Because think about meditation. Yeah, I know you're doing that yourself.
Oh, that makes me feel good.
Yeah.
See, I'm very logical, and it's bad because I feel like for you to trust your intuition, that's a feeling, and I'm not.
Don't judge yourself for having a logical mind. Because logical is an aspect of divine masculine. We all have divine masculine and divine feminine in our bodies and ourselves. It's okay. Like, there's aspects of them, shadow sides to both of them. It's the balance. So you don't need to shame yourself of just having a logical mind. That's just how your brain works, right? So, but that is why meditation can be so helpful, because when you have someone who is so analytical, logical, anxious, and trying to get the brain to just be present, that is so hard. So meditation's amazing. Finding the meditations and recognizing you don't have to quiet your brain altogether. It's just recognizing those thoughts are coming in and letting them pass through, not engaging with them. That's what meditation really is. But besides meditation, there are so many mindful practices. I think mindful practices, to me, are really the best way to start, because being present. And so much of being on a path is about not being attached to the past, not being attached to the present, the future, just living in the present. And it's kind of that whole like balance of the scales with everything. I mean, we live in such a dualistic world. People talk about good and bad, right and wrong. People are like expecting you to pick sides with politics and world issues. You don't have to pick sides with everything. That doesn't mean you don't honor how you feel about things and what's important to you. You still want to do that. You just do that with something that's called divine neutrality, which is way down the path of where you start. But what you want to do is you want to respect people being on whatever journey that is, and to not take things so personally, right? So that's way down the road. With starting, mindfulness practices is really important. So mindfulness can look like meditation. It can look like getting in any sort of flow state. So for some people, they're musicians. Some people, they're artists. Some people have creative outlets like that. Some people, it's coding. Some people, it's video games. You know, anytime you're present, that's a good practice. So mindfulness practices can be, this is why coloring books became so popular a few years ago, because it's a mindfulness practice. Mindfulness can look like so many different things. Finding what makes you feel present and mindful is what's important. It's summertime, so a lot of people feel that when they're out in nature or in the pool or whatever. Like, where are you present, and how can you incorporate that in your daily life? That's what I meant by moderation, more or less. Because I think when you're in your flow state, that's like a sign that you're in alignment with yourself. So someone who's on their path, mindfulness practices is probably number one. Some people are really gung-ho in their approach, and they want to jump right into like a silent retreat. And that works. That works for some people. That does not work for a lot of people. That can be like stimulus overwhelm, knowledge overwhelm, and then you can get burned out real fast, and then take a while to try to return. And that's fine too. So meditation is great. I think for a lot of people, even just like experiencing what different practitioners in the field offer is a nice way to try to start your path. So for me, meditation was a big part of my start. Then it was getting psychic readings and kind of understanding that, going in completely skeptical, even though this is what I do now, and just seeing what comes through and asking questions even about like, well, what is this? What am I getting an understanding? Then it was going to classes. Then I started taking courses on how to connect to your intuition and all that. So for me, it was, you know, I took a very logical kind of approach to it, and that kind of just helped solidify my experience and helped answer some things on a logical level first.
For you to trust it or think it's real.
Totally.
Sure.
To think it's real.
Yeah.
To think it's real.
Yeah.
Because for the longest time, I told myself it wasn't, because I just was in denial and I was scared. And that's a big thing that, you know, people that, we talked about that subset of people who experience things when they're younger. A lot of people get scared. That happened with me. I got scared of some stuff. I shut off my gifts for a long time. You know, I have some people who are like, you're really young to be as advanced as you are. Like, you know, advancement is a hierarchical view of things, and I try not to have a hierarchical thing of things, except for vibration levels, because that is numerically hierarchical, but whatever. Where you are in your life is what to honor, is to honor the fact that you feel like there's an interest here and something more to discover and to look into that. You know, I have friends who will never be interested in a spiritual path, so to speak, right? They're never going to be interested in metaphysics. They're never going to be interested in esoterics. And that's okay.
Why? Because they don't believe in it?
Yes.
Okay.
And they will never believe in it.
Okay.
Like, they've made a staunch decision not to.
Oh, okay.
And there are reasons that those people are still in your vibrational field. Because there's no judgment that needs to take place. I don't push that on them. You know, if they were to come across this video, they would be like, who the heck are you? It's understanding that people are on their own path and being okay with it. Someone who has a different perspective of something that you find that you're very passionate about, being okay with them having that perspective, and knowing that you can engage in a conversation with them about it if you want to, but it's completely your choice, and it's their choice to believe what they want. And that's that divine neutrality that we were kind of talking about. I think a lot of spiritual teachers will talk about divine neutrality. I think the important thing to think of with divine neutrality is it doesn't mean that you don't care about anything, and it doesn't mean that you still don't hold your values and hold things close to your heart. It just means that you know, just using discernment, when to engage with a certain conversation with someone about a topic that they might disagree with, and when energetically maybe that's not the best time or the best person to have that conversation with. It just kind of depends, but still allowing them as a sovereign being to have their own experience, whether you try to consider spreading your views or not.
Okay.
You know, to me, that's what divine neutrality really is. Because there's a lot of stuff going on in the world. What I was going to say earlier, circling back to that, it's not a big secret, but it's a secret if you had never heard of it. We're in a huge time of ascension. This kind of has become even clearer with the pandemic, because the world is...
Sorry.
That's fine. It's become clear with the pandemic because we've been able to see how big the change is over the world. The whole world paused for a bit. The pandemic affected everyone, right? Ascension is, there's a lot of definitions for it, and I'll give a few. It is the ascension from the third dimension through the fourth dimension into the fifth dimension. The ascension is Mother Gaia transitioning into new soul entering. It is the ascension of the new earth into the old earth into the new earth. The ascension is, see, there's so many different definitions of it. The ascension is the leveling up of people's consciousness. The ascension is more people choosing a spiritual path and choosing a path of love and light. The ascension, right? Like, it keeps going, truly. The ascension is the leveling up of our crystal DNA. The ascension is the return of Christ consciousness to the planet, which is the return of Christ, just not necessarily the way that we thought. The ascension is the transition from the Piscean age into the Aquarian age in astrology.
Oh, I'm an Aquarius.
There's so many.
That's different people's. You're saying it tailored to different people's beliefs.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
And
Very
I mean,
helpful
there's different people I could tell you that have said different things, like the whole New Earth, Old Earth thing, Dolores Cannon, right? Age of Aquarius, there's a whole song about it from the 70s, right? So that's more of an astrology belief, and it's a Western astrology, I believe, right? The 3D to 5D thing, that's a very common thing with the dimensions. The idea that Mother Gaia there's a new soul incarnating. There's just, it really, there's so many different variations, but it's very palpable for people that are in tune with the collective consciousness that there's definitely something going on. This is why so many people are turning to healing modalities, whether that's energy healing or Reiki or cord cutting, chakra balancing, whatever, or seeking help, asking for help from healers, asking for readings, trying to get clarity, and on this path of like, okay, I want to learn what my intuition is. I want to connect with it. I want to trust it more. I want to, see what this is about, right? And it's important to recognize that not everyone on the planet is supposed to have a spiritual experience. No. Because not everyone is supposed to. It's the ascension to me is light workers coming into their own and healers coming into their own, star seeds coming into their own. Not using those totally interchangeably there, but somewhat interchangeably there, and helping to raise the consciousness of the human population on Earth so that we can become a more loving society. To me, that's really why I do this. I just want to help people. I want to help them connect to themselves more and love themselves more. So yeah, I mean, there's so many definitions of what's going on, but that's why you see this uptick. Like TikTok's made like some information become more accessible because so many people are seeing that. I'm just seeing so many Generation Z people that have come in already kind of in that category you talked about, with gifts or like just as they're supposed to be, like already like embodying a lot of their understanding of who they are and what their place in the world is. So yeah,
okay,
it's food for thought.
Yes.
And as much as I love talking about this stuff and educating people, I'm not gonna tell anyone what to believe.
Yeah.
It's not my place to.
Yeah.
So, if, with anything, you take what resonates and you leave the rest.
Yeah.
So, even in psychology, it's accept, reject, modify, right? So, with any information that you get, always have that approach, because even if something doesn't resonate with you now, it might resonate later when you think back on it, or it just might never resonate with you.
Okay.
and just, again, have patience.
Mm-hmm.
I think patience is a big thing that comes up for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
A lot of people want to be there ASAP.
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly think that some of the social media cultures kind of like
oh yeah
played into that.
Yeah.
I'm not on TikTok, but I get a lot of people mentioning stuff they've seen on TikTok, and it's like, I mean, social media just kind of glamorizes things, and that's just, I mean, it's a helpful tool with connecting with people. So let's just like not demonize social media fully.
Yeah.
But social media can make it look far more glamorous and make you look more further along the path than someone might actually be. Maybe they're just walking the walk, but not talking the talk.
Oh, that's I don't want to say majority, but yeah, it's a lot of social media.
And you don't get a full picture with things. And just to have the patience of, it's going to take time, and it's going to be in divine timing.
Yes, and
divine timing is
fast.
Yeah.
Results, like, quick.
Yeah. And honestly, there's some people recently, and they're not really doing the social media thing at all, but they're just like exponential, right? Because they're putting in the work, not because they're attaching to the outcome. They're just letting them go on their own flow, on their own path, and they're not saying, I have to be at this point, you know? And that's the most beautiful thing, I think, to see. Honestly, there's so many beautiful things to see. Let's not even go there. But on this side of the table is to have clients that I started seeing just in March, and they're already like so much further along than I think anyone would have expected. Now, to that point, because of the Ascension energy, that's what you're seeing more and more, is rapid expansion, rapid growth. It's really allowed people to, and I know the pandemic allowed people to be at home and work on themselves if they chose to. But beyond that, like, timelines, like, time is just like rapidly moving right now. So everything's really expansive at the moment. Things are just like rampantly growing. There's that potential. But you have to be unattached to things, right? So, yeah.
That was such a great conversation. I learned so much. I hope it was helpful for you guys as well. As always, if you guys have any recommendations on any topics you guys want us to talk about, or anything you want to know more about spirituality or anything like that, definitely leave it in the comments down below. Or if you have any questions, leave it in the comments down below. And also, I'll make sure to link our website, how to schedule a session with Kathy or any of the other practitioners, in the description box below. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and see you in the next video.